Hi guys, welcome back to Endorse Me Presents the Startup Series. I'm Sophia and I'm going to be talking to you today about how to start a business whilst working 9 to 5. Truthfully, it's really difficult. I think if you don't have proper time management, organisation, goal setting, objectives, things like that, it's going to feel absolutely manic. So I kind of wanted to talk through those three things. If anybody's like me, we all have to have a job. Unless you're super lucky and you have finances coming out everywhere, you are going to have to work 9 to 5 to invest in your business, to buy stock if you're on that side of things with product, or for me, if you're on the app side of things, just to keep the operations flowing whilst the app's being developed. I've touched in another podcast, I've spoken about how you can negotiate deals to help get that app up and running with tech firms if you don't have capital. So I'll link that below. But I want to start off with being time efficient and time management in general. You're working 9 to 5. I think sometimes you have to take that and really just own it, because we hear all these things from Gary Vaynerchuk and everyone about hustle culture, this hustle porn. It's not realistic. It's going to cause burnout. And I think you have to focus on your health as well as being able to manage a business. It's about consistency. It's about what's going to be sustainable, what's sticking. And if you're burning out all the time, it's just not going to work. So what I found, because I used to do that, I was really into hustle culture and I'd work 24/7. If you are like me and you have to commute into work, take that into account too. Take into account going to the gym, take into account time off and moments for yourself and social time. And what I do is I section off 2 to 3 hours a day to purely invest into my business. That might be a lot for some. Even an hour of focused work is good enough. Don't think you have to be working all night. I used to think that that's what I had to do, but it's just not the case. Even also, if you don't get around to working through the week 9 to 5 on your business, you can just do weekends. You can do 2 or 3 hours over the weekend or 4 hours. It's about productive work. It's not about spending hours and hours when you're burnt out. That's not productive. It's not going to get you anywhere. Trust me, I've tried doing that. Like last week, I was exhausted and I think I only managed to do an hour's work through the week and focus more over the weekend. I kind of like to work on the startup when I feel passionate, when I'm ready, because that's when I do my best work. Honestly, the amount of times I see, I'm dedicating 8 hours a day. No, it's not realistic. Also, I'm so glad that I have my 9 to 5. I know that's going to sound really mad, but it gives me time off the startup. So when I go back to it, I'm more creative. And I've said this a lot, I think, throughout. If, obviously being the main investor in my company, I need my day job. But also to give me that time away from it, it's the needed distraction, because you go back and you see things in a different light. So I think don't see it as a handicap, see it as something that's a superpower, that you have this job that's actually an advantage. It gives you skills that you wouldn't necessarily have, and also it makes you look at your business in a different way. I work in B2B in my day job, and I do have a very senior position. So to face those challenges already in that business and to bring it back to mine, it's really an advantage. Which, actually thinking about it now, is making me quite happy, because you always see, I've gone full time and the startup's not even ready. It might be pre-revenue. I feel like I'm approaching startups slightly differently, which is quite refreshing. The next one I think to look at is setting key objectives, KPIs. I think that's really helped me, but you need to be realistic in this. So I think what I was doing before is setting objectives that were out of my reach. And now I tend to do monthly recaps of what stopped me from reaching the objectives. For example, in January, I thought that my app was going to be ready. So I had these sales objectives, but the app still isn't ready and it's March. That's no one's fault. It's just the way that things work. And when you're really rigid, it can burn you out, actually, because you're so focused on those goals and not reaching them, that actually external factors when things are out of your control, you need to be able to adapt. And actually, I learned that from one of my friends yesterday. I'm someone that takes things very hard, but actually, these things are fully out of my control. So what I can do is just adapt around it and move forward, which is quite nice. I feel like I'm going on a very personal journey here, even through like this podcast. I feel like I am, which is amazing. But you have to learn to deal with things when they're out of your control. And I think that's something that I'm still learning. Something that is really difficult. Yeah. And when it comes to setting objectives, like I said, move with your business, but also move with yourself. Something I learned recently was about mental health, and sometimes we're not always in a good place. With my day job, there are things that happen that sometimes put me in not in a bad mental place, but I overthink a lot. Even with the business, I overthink. And you are your own worst enemy. They always say that, don't they? And I think that's something that I've learned recently, is to actually challenge the thoughts and think, is this really happening? Is that a true thought, or am I making it up in my mind and making it a bigger deal than it is? Majority of the time, I'm making it a bigger deal than it is, even if it's happening in real life, like what I actually think. It's not, it's more about how I can sit at home and be at peace, and I can control my mind in that way. So I'm kind of dealing with that at the moment. Things really spiraled out of control, but it was completely in my mind. None of this is actually happening. I think overthinking is the reason why sometimes we can't achieve our goals, but our own limitations. And then I would say, like I said, and I've said it before, own your 9 to 5, own your situation, and move at the pace that you move at. Don't, you only fail when you give up. And that's the truth. And I'll always repeat that. I think if you take a day off, the world's not going to stop. If you take a week off, the world's not going to stop. If you need to take a month off, the world's not going to stop. Your business is still going to be there. And this is so against the grain to say this stuff, but I just think we're moving into this new world of business. And actually, we see it today, is that when people are tired and they've made the mistakes early on, it comes back to bite them in the arse, 5-10 years later? And I think it's so important to make decisions on a good night's sleep, and when you're rested, and when you're in the best frame of mind. And also, if you don't know enough, seek advice. Seek advice and go with your gut feeling. I love that I've had all the challenges in my business, and that I've been working 9 to 5, because I've learned so much. I've learned more than what people might have done if they'd have quit their jobs and pursued it full time. It does go against the grain, and it's against what everybody thinks is right. But I do believe that with proper time management, proper KPI objectives, and also when you've set up marketing and you've got good inbound marketing, you can still run a business. But yeah, I just wanted to share my thoughts. Thank you so much. I've been your host, Sophia. If you're on Spotify, feel free to follow. I do upload weekly, and we will have a guest next week. She is amazing, honestly. She's so confident and just really inspiring, and just shows how confidence can actually get you everywhere. If you're watching on YouTube, remember to like and subscribe. Thank you so much. Have a good day.